The On Target Institute presents a teaching from the Men on Target small group curriculum. Now with today's session, On Target founder Vince D'Acchioli.
Man, how you doing? Welcome to session 47 of the On Target Institute curriculum. In our last session, we dealt with understanding accountability. In this session, we're going to be talking about fit for the kingdom. We're going to be talking about taking care of this temple, which we call our physical body. I want to remind you again to please go to otm.co if you haven't already and download the handout materials for this and all of our sessions really under otm.co. On Target Institute drop down, you'll see a place for downloadable resources and all of them are available to you at that site. Now, did you know that you are made in the image of God? The first thing I have up on the screen there says, do you recognize your image in your offspring? How many of you would say, boy, you know, when I look at my children or I look at me and how I'm aging, I look a lot like my dad did or my mom did. And we do look like our parents, and our kids end up looking like us. Well, do you realize that you have to remember that God sees a part of himself in you? And even more important is that you belong to him. We need to understand that. I think 1 Corinthians really kind of sets the table for us because I don't believe we're taking our bodies very seriously. But look at what it says. It says, do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. Our bodies are the temple of the living God. What are we doing to take care of our bodies? Guys, here's what the problem is. Our flesh wants what it wants. We don't think about the results of things that we're consuming or things that maybe we're not doing. The definition of lust, by the way, is not sexual. Lust literally means I must have it now. It could be a craving for food. It could be laziness. It could be any number of different things that we allow ourselves to enter into. Let's visit some old statistics. I believe probably today these statistics are even worse, but October 9th, 2004, Journal of the American Medical Association says this: 30.5% of Americans are obese, up from 22.9 10 years prior. 64.5% are overweight. Just 22% of U.S. adults report regular, sustained physical activity lasting 30 minutes or more 5 times a week. Less than 22%, probably down now. 250,000 plus deaths per year in the U.S. are due to a lack of regular physical activity. And fewer than 20% of U.S. adults get enough leisure time exercise to achieve cardiovascular fitness. It says that 1 in 4 U.S. adults has high blood pressure. And if you go to fitness.gov, let me just give you that website. Go to fitness.gov, and there's a full list of way more stats that define where we are in our culture today. I know myself, I struggle with high blood pressure, and I have to take medication for it, and I know why. And I can adjust my blood pressure by the weight that I gain or my exercise, and shame on me if I don't take this seriously enough. And I want you to know that as I've put this lesson together, I've come under some conviction myself. Now, let's look at some of the things that we consume. We consume useless calories, and oftentimes some of these really border on being poisons. 34% of total calories consumed by Americans come from fat. The average American consumes 80 to 120 pounds of refined sugar annually and 56 gallons of soda. Guys, let me repeat that. 80 to 120 pounds of refined sugar, which now today medical science is discovering may be the reason why we have so many problems. Even cancer is being attributed to some of the things that we ingest. This is a horrible, horrible pattern that we're developing in our culture today as we look at these things. We are marketed and sold and consume highly toxic substances every day. The world is screaming at us that you have to have these things, and there are substances going into them that make them very tasty and very hard to resist. Let's look at some scriptures. Okay? In Ephesians 5:28, it says, "Husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself." The idea here is as we love our own bodies, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it. Have you found honey, it says in Proverbs 25:16? Have you found honey? Eat only as much as you need, lest you be filled with it and vomit. The Bible is very clear about some of these things that we ought to be looking into more seriously on our own. How much are we taking care of our physical body? Do we really cherish it like we should? How much are we consuming that is really destroying us? And because it happens so slowly, the cumulative effect, we don't understand it. And we are oftentimes buying into a lie. And the result of buying into a lie and not having firm commitments in our life to change things is destroying us. Well, let's talk about a place to start. Number one, simple changes in your shopping and eating habits. Just begin to look at the labels and see what they say. Inspect the ingredient lists and the health warnings more carefully. My wife is very good at this. I'm always drawn to things on the shelf that I want to buy, and she says, "No, look what's in there." And she's a reminder to me that we have to look more carefully at what people are putting in there to try to hook us in and get us convinced that these things are good when in fact they may be very bad for us. When eating, disobey the flesh. The flesh says, I have to have more. I've got to have another helping. I love ice cream. And I'll tell you, it's very hard for me to put that ice cream in that bowl and then put it back in the freezer. You know, I may do that, but I may come back a few minutes later and I want a little bit more because it tastes so good, and I don't really count the cost oftentimes. We got to have more discipline in this area, guys. Implement simple changes to your daily routine that reintroduces motion into your daily routine. Here's some ideas. You know, if you've got a choice of taking an elevator to go up one or two flights, take the stairs instead. Just force yourself to think about doing things that you normally wouldn't be able to do or normally wouldn't think of doing because it's more convenient. But think about the benefit of maybe taking the stairs. When you're in a parking lot, I find myself doing this more now. I'll actually park a little further away. It actually keeps me from getting more door dings in my car, but the other part of it is I have to deliberately walk farther than I normally would. Guys, it's exercise. My grandkids have these little Fitbit things that they put on. It actually counts the steps. And that's a kind of a fun thing too. So you have a goal every day, or the numbers of steps you want to take, and the kind of exercise plan. Develop a plan, an action plan, and really think about it. Here's a sample action plan that you can look at. Develop a list for food intake and exercise commitments. Make a list of the kinds of things that you want to be able to discipline yourself to do from this point forward. Hold yourself accountable. Guys, listen, no one else is going to hold you accountable. Hold yourself accountable. I know for me that's a hard one. So I oftentimes try to buddy up with guys to play racquetball or to work out and exercise because they can spur me on, like we talked about in the accountable relationships area. They spur me on to encourage me to move on and to get better and to get more fit. We all need that. So find some people to partner with. Maybe you could partner with your spouse. Go on walks. Walk the dog more often. But hold yourself accountable for these commitments that you make to do that. Work harder on yourself, guys, than on your job. It's very important that you really, we work hard at our work, we take it seriously, but we need to look at our bodies and look at ourselves and say, you know what? I need to do a better job of taking care of myself. Treat your body as a temple. It is the temple of the living God, and make it something God can be proud to live in. And develop and commit to a daily routine. Make it daily, guys, so you won't forget it. The most important part of this is exercise. Find ways to exercise. Now, for me, this is tough because I'll tell you, I am so prone to getting lazy. I'm so prone to putting it off. Well, maybe I'll exercise tomorrow. I just feel a little weak today. I don't really want to do this today, and I have to really force myself to get up and to do that. walk, get on the treadmill, go to the park and throw some baseballs with your grandkids or with your kids. I love racquetball, and I find that I really enjoy that. So I find myself getting guys around me and playing racquetball as often as I possibly can. But sometimes, again, I get into a lull and it's not enough. So the combination of really watching what you're putting into your body and physically exercising to make sure you stay in shape, you do those two things, guys, and you'll be really headed toward a much better temple that God can be proud of. I want to really encourage you in this area. Life implication: not taking care of our spiritual temple, listen, will take valuable years off of our lives and limit much of what God wants to do through us. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting to the point now as I'm getting older, I really want to make up for some of the mistakes I've made in the past, and I want to live as long as I possibly can, and I don't want to be the reason why I have to leave my assignment before God earlier than I normally would. Life application: here's some discussion questions for you, and I really hope you have a lively discussion about this and really do hold each other accountable in this area. Very, very important. How am I doing right now in the area of consuming healthy foods? Would you say that you're really looking at those labels and really worried about it, or you just don't worry about it at all and you're eating all the wrong things? Number two, how would I rate my current exercise commitments? Do I even have any? And how do you think you're doing with those commitments today? And am I willing to commit right now, this is important, to a new plan of action? I would add on to that, you got men right at your table right now that you could say to them right now, I need you, here's what I'm going to commit to, guys, and I want you every week to hold me responsible and ask me, how did I do last week? I pray you have a lively discussion. It's an important topic. And guys, until next time, remember this, don't forget about it.